What if the anger you're feeling isn't really anger at all? What if your fear is trying to tell you something much more specific? Welcome to The Conscious Pause, a space where we slow down, turn inward, and explore the landscape within with curiosity and compassion. This podcast is your invitation to step out of the rush of everyday life and reconnect with yourself. Together, we explore what it means to heal, to grow, and to live with intention through mindfulness, reflection, and real conversation. Let's take a deep breath together and begin. Today, we're diving deep into something we all experience every single day, but rarely take time to truly understand: our emotions. And we've got some unexpected guides to help us on this journey. You know that feeling when someone asks, "How are you?" And you automatically say, "I'm good." But if you pause for just a moment, you realize there's so much more going on beneath the surface. That's what we're exploring today. We're going to talk about why understanding our emotions matters, how tools like Calm's feeling wheel can help us get to the root of what we're really experiencing, and how two beautiful Pixar films are teaching both children and adults about the emotional landscape inside all of us. Most of us have been trained to use surface-level emotion words. We say, "I'm happy," "I'm sad," "I'm surprised." And while those words aren't wrong, they're often incomplete. They're like looking at the ocean and only seeing the waves on the surface, without understanding the currents, the temperature, the entire ecosystem moving beneath. Here's what happens when we only operate at this surface level. We miss the opportunity to truly understand ourselves and each other. We can't address what we need. We can't communicate effectively with others, and we end up feeling disconnected from our own inner world. Think about the last time you snapped at someone you love. You might have said, "I'm just stressed, I'm tired." But was it really just stress? Or underneath that stress, were you feeling unappreciated, overwhelmed, scared about something, maybe even lonely? The truth is, our emotional lives are incredibly rich and complex, and we do ourselves a disservice when we flatten them into one or two simple words. This is why emotional literacy, the ability to identify and understand our emotions with nuance and precision, is one of the most important skills we can develop. And thankfully, we're living in a time where there are more tools than ever to help us do exactly that. One of my favorite tools that I've encountered for developing emotional literacy is something called the feeling wheel. And I want to specifically talk about the one featured in the Calm app's blog, because it's beautifully designed and incredibly accessible. If you haven't seen a feeling wheel before, imagine a circle divided into sections, kind of like a color wheel, but instead of colors, we have emotions. And here's where it gets interesting. The wheel is organized in layers. At the very center, you have your 7 core emotions: angry, fearful, disgusted, sad, happy, surprised, and bad. These 7 emotions represent the broadest categories of what we might be experiencing. Notice how they include both comfortable and uncomfortable emotions. This is intentional. All emotions are valid and have something to teach us. But here's where the magic happens. As you move outward from the center, each of these core emotions branches out into more specific, nuanced feelings. Let's take angry as an example. When you're feeling angry, the wheel helps you get more specific. In the middle ring, you might discover that you're actually feeling mad, frustrated, distant, critical, aggressive, bitter, let down, or hurt. And then if you go even deeper into the outer and final ring, you might find that your frustration is actually being annoyed or infuriated. Your mad feeling might be more specifically resentful or furious, or your let down feeling might really be betrayed or humiliated. Do you see how different each of these feels? How each one points to a different root cause and might need a different response? Next, let's explore fearful. In the middle layer, there's scared, anxious, insecure, weak, rejected, or threatened. And in the outer ring, if you're feeling anxious, you can narrow it down even further. Are you overwhelmed, worried, or perhaps feeling inadequate? If you're feeling scared, is it more specifically that you're frightened, helpless, or nervous? Oh, what about bad? Sometimes we just feel bad, and we can't quite name it. The feeling wheel acknowledges this. And when you start with bad, the middle layer then has bored, busy, stressed, tired. And then if you're stressed, are you overwhelmed? Are you out of control? Are you feeling pressured? Or if you're tired, are you sleepy or unfocused? Calm's feeling wheel is interactive and gentle. You start with what you think you're feeling, and then it guides you deeper. Is it this, or is it more like this? I'll give you a personal example. So if you listen to the first episode, you might guess that I felt a lot of anger last year. When I used the feeling wheel, I realized underneath the anger, I was feeling let down and hurt. And underneath those emotions, I was feeling betrayed and humiliated. Someone I trusted had broken that trust, annihilated it, really. And my angry feeling was actually protecting me from the vulnerability of admitting how much it hurt. Once I could name those specific feelings, betrayed and humiliated, I could address them. I could ask myself, what do I need to heal from this betrayal? How can I rebuild trust within myself and in general? What boundaries do I need to set? If I had stayed at I'm angry, I would have just stewed in resentment or lashed out. But because I got to the root, I could actually address what was creating the anger in the first place. This is the power of getting underneath the surface emotion, of pausing. The feeling wheel doesn't just give you a vocabulary for your emotions, it gives you a map. It shows you where to look, what to investigate, and how to understand the full landscape of what you're experiencing. The more you use tools like this, the better you get at it. Your emotional vocabulary expands, you start to recognize patterns, and you become fluent in the language of your own heart. Now, I want to talk about something that might seem unexpected on a podcast about emotional growth, and that's animated movies, specifically Pixar's Inside Out films. If you haven't seen Inside Out, first of all, I'm giving you homework. Go watch it, both 1 and 2. But let me give you the setup. The film takes place inside the mind of an 11-year-old girl named Riley, and her emotions, joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust, are personified as characters who operate a control center in her mind. And the thing is, these films aren't just for children. Adults can learn from them too. In fact, when I watched Inside Out 2, the anxiety character had me feeling so seen in a way I didn't expect from an animated movie. What Inside Out does brilliantly is show us that all emotions have value. It shows us emotions aren't good or bad, they're information. They're trying to help us, even when they're uncomfortable. The first film is all about Joy, who believes her job is to keep Riley happy all the time. But Joy learns that sadness is just as important. There's this pivotal moment when Joy realizes that some of Riley's most important memories, the ones that connect her to the people who love her, are made possible by sadness. When Riley is sad, people comfort her. When she's sad, she reaches out for connection. Sadness isn't the enemy of happiness. It's part of the full human experience. This is something so many of us struggle with as adults. We've been taught that negative emotions are problems to be solved, obstacles to overcome, weaknesses to hide. But Inside Out gently shows us through beautiful animation and storytelling that every emotion has a purpose. Fear keeps us safe. Disgust protects us from things that might harm us. Anger motivates us to stand up for what matters. And sadness connects us to others and helps us process loss. What would it be like if, instead of trying to get rid of our uncomfortable emotions, we were curious about what they're trying to tell us? What if we could befriend them the way Riley eventually befriends all of her emotions? Inside Out 2 was released nearly a decade after the first one, and it took a deeper dive into our emotions. In the second film, Riley is now a teenager, and new emotions show up: anxiety, envy, embarrassment, and ennui. These are the more complex emotions that emerge as we grow up and our inner world becomes more sophisticated. What I love about Inside Out 2 is how it portrays anxiety, because anxiety isn't a villain. She's actually trying to help Riley. She's planning for the future, trying to protect Riley from potential problems, working overtime to keep Riley safe. The problem is, anxiety takes over. She pushes all the other emotions aside and tries to control everything. And in doing so, she actually creates the very problems she's trying to prevent. This was such an accurate portrayal of what happens in my own mind. I was in awe of how much I could relate to the anxiety character. Again, anxiety isn't evil. It's often trying to help. But when it's the only voice we're listening to, when it drowns out all our other emotions, we lose balance, we lose perspective, and we lose ourselves. The resolution of Inside Out 2 is so important. Riley learns she can hold multiple emotions at once. She can be anxious and excited. She can be sad and grateful. She doesn't have to choose just one. This is called emotional complexity, and it's a sign of emotional maturity. It's the ability to hold paradox, to acknowledge that life is full of mixed feelings, and that's not confusing, that's being human. Both Inside Out films teach us something heartfelt. Your emotions aren't you. They're visitors. They're messengers. You can observe them, listen to them, learn from them, all without being controlled by them. And that perspective, that ability to step back and see your emotions as separate from your identity, that's the essence of emotional intelligence. So we've talked about why surface level emotion words aren't enough, how the feeling wheel can help us get to the root of what we're really experiencing, and how Inside Out shows us that all emotions have value and purpose. Now, let's bring this into your daily life with a simple practice you can start today. This is the 3 invitations practice. This is a practice of being present with what is and an invitation to explore your emotional GPS. We're inviting ourselves to explore our emotions rather than forcing ourselves to dig through them. And here's how it works. The first invitation is to name the core emotion. So notice what you're feeling at the core level using those 7 emotions from the Calm Feeling Wheel. Ask yourself, am I feeling angry, fearful, disgusted, sad, happy, surprised, or bad? Don't judge it. Don't analyze it. Just name it. I'm feeling fearful. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling bad. This is your starting point. Invitation 2 is to move to the middle layer. This is where we get curious. Let's say you identify that you're feeling fearful. Ask yourself, what kind of fearful? So you're looking at the middle layer of the wheel. Are you feeling scared about a specific threat? Anxious about the future? Insecure about your abilities? weak in this situation, rejected by someone, or threatened by what's happening. Or maybe you identified bad as your core emotion. Are you bored with the repetition in your life? Busy with too many demands? Stressed about competing priorities? Or tired and depleted? Take your time here. Try on different words until you find one that really resonates. You'll know it when you go, ah, yes, that's it. And the third invitation is to get to the specific feeling. So once you've identified the middle layer, explore the outermost ring. If you're feeling anxious, is it more specifically that you're overwhelmed because you have too many demands, worried about a specific outcome, or feeling inadequate for the task ahead? Or if you started with angry and identified let down in the middle, is your let down feeling betrayed by broken trust, humiliated by how you were treated, or disrespected by someone's actions? If you identified stressed, are you overwhelmed by the volume of work, feeling out of control with the circumstances, or pressured by deadlines and expectations? Then ask, what does this specific feeling need right now? If you're feeling inadequate, maybe you need to remind yourself of past successes. If you're feeling lonely, maybe you need to reach out to a friend. If you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe you need to delegate or set a boundary. This is where the inside-out perspective is so helpful. Imagine that emotion as a character, like anxiety or sadness, sitting across from you. What would they say they need? The whole practice might take 3 minutes, but those 3 minutes can completely change how you move throughout your day. What I've learned from doing this work, from using tools like the feeling wheel, from watching Inside Out, and taking the time to truly understand my emotions, is this. Emotions aren't problems to be solved. They're not weaknesses to be overcome. They're not obstacles to your happiness. They're your internal guidance system. They're data. They're your psyche's way of communicating with you about what matters, what's working, what needs attention, and what needs to change. When we learn to understand our emotions with nuance, when we can get underneath the surface to the root, everything changes. Our relationships improve because we can communicate what we really need. Our decision-making improves because we're not just reacting to unnamed feelings. Our sense of self improves because we're not at war with half of our inner experience. You have a rich, complex, beautiful, emotional life. You deserve to understand it. You deserve to be fluent in the language of your own heart. Before we close, I want to leave you with a challenge for this week. Save the Calm Feeling Wheel to your phone. I've linked it in the episode notes. Spend time with it. Let yourself be curious about the full range of what you're capable of feeling. Notice how angry, fearful, disgusted, sad, happy, surprised, and bad each branch out into their own unique emotional landscapes. And don't forget, your homework is to watch Inside Out 1 and 2, if you haven't seen them yet, or even if it's been a while since you have. Pay attention to what emotions you identify with. Notice which ones you've been pushing away. See if you can start befriending all of them. Remember, you don't have to be okay. You don't have to simplify what's complex. You can be many things at once. And the more you understand your emotions, the more you can work with them instead of against them. Thank you for taking this conscious pause with me today. Thank yourself for doing the work of understanding you more deeply. It matters. You matter. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, pause, breathe, and feel.